So in the history of New Frontiers, we're quite well known as a church planting movement, and that's really come out of a very intentional plan in the 90s to see a lot of churches established. But over the years, we've actually been looking at how can we really develop church planting in a much greater way. And we've done a bit of a review, looked at our history, and we've identified three broad areas where we can see new churches established. And so in future, rather than using the phrase church planting, we're going to talk about start, restart, and multiply. Start is all about really what it says, starting new churches. Planting churches would be the phrase we've used in the past, but now we want to use this phrase starting churches. And what we mean by it is we want to raise teams who will go and plant churches, both in the UK and overseas. We feel God's laid many towns and cities in the UK on our heart, but also countries overseas, France, America, Latin America, as well as existing countries such as India and other countries such as that, the Iberian Peninsula. And our desire is to see many teams raised up to go church planting. And as part of that, we want to be very intentional, therefore, about training leaders and raising up teams, because it's teams that plant churches, not just leaders. And so as a result of that, we are launching something called Good to Go, starting in September this year. It will happen twice a year in future, and it's about gathering people who wonder whether they've got a call to be part of a church planting team. They don't necessarily have to be leaders. They may just want to be part of a team and want to be involved in planting a church. And we want to grab hold of these people. We want to do some mentoring and some training. We want to help them to read and understand what church planting's like. We know it's not easy, and we want to take down some of the perhaps rose-tinted ideas of church planting and help people to be very realistic about intentionally wanting to go church planting. So that's start. Restart is all about grabbing hold of existing churches, perhaps churches which have struggled to flourish, churches which may be part of a traditional denomination and be dying, and really just wanting somebody to come in and help them be re-established, being planted by great people once upon a time with a fantastic heritage, perhaps seen great kingdom advance over many, many decades, but for whatever reason have now gone into a place of decline, maybe even terminal decline. And we want to get alongside churches such as that. Our history actually, going back many, many years to the early days of Terry Virgo, was just that. Getting hold of churches that wanted to be part of who we were and helping them understand apostolic ministry, our restoration values, seeing churches restored. And we want to do just that again, help see churches which perhaps have lost their way come back into the fullness of all that God's called them to. And so we're developing a restart team, a team who can go in and work with other churches, help them to really grab hold of what it is to welcome the Spirit, to receive apostolic ministry, to understand our values, and to work with them in partnership. It's not a takeover, it's a partnership situation. We want to help them to understand who we are and come and join us on this wonderful mission that God has called us together. And so that's a bit about restart. Multiply? Well, multiply is all about helping churches grow through multiplication. You know, so often our churches can grow to the point where our buildings are almost full, and then we say, well, what do we do next? Do we plant another church, or what are the other options? And we want to help develop a team which will help people really to understand what options are out there, because we don't just have to plant another church. We can establish a multi-site, a site just a few minutes down the road perhaps, reaching a different section of society. We can look at multiple meetings, that's another option. We can even look at multiple meetings with different expressions to reach different groups of people. And so again, we're trying to establish a team there who will work with church leaders, who will help them to grab hold of what God's doing and look at the whole multi-site strategy, a team of people who are practitioners, who understand the options, who can work with other church leaders and help them to do this. And across these three teams, our fundamental underlying philosophy is this: apostolic ministry needs to come in and be involved in all of these. Whether it's start, whether it's restart, whether it's multiply, apostolic ministry is massively important. And teams are so important as well. And so we have teams for each of start, restart and multiply. And those teams will in turn have a focus of equipping the saints. It's not just about raising leaders. Raising leaders is really important, but equipping the saints is really important too. And working with and through relationship with existing leaders and through the apostolic team. So that's a little bit about start, restart and multiply. can I invite you, if you're wondering about, is God calling me to do something like this? Why not get in touch with me? My name's Andrew Lawrence. I'm one of the people who lead these teams. You can get hold of me through the Commission together.org.uk website. We'd love to have a conversation with you and help you to engage in all that God's doing for you and your church in the future. Thank you.